Welcome, Nick, to the first episode of Modern Marketing TV. Thanks for being the first guest of this new YouTube show, which also is a podcast. And today we're going to discuss inbound marketing, more specific, the inbound marketing that made Board of Innovation to what it is today. What should the watchers of this show know about you, Nick?
Good question. So I'm one of the co-founders of the Board of Innovation. So we have an innovation consultancy with around 40 people at the moment, and we help large corporates to build their innovation programs. We give training about innovation, design thinking, and those type of topics. So we're basically built on top of online marketing and digital content. So that's what we started 10 years ago. And today now we run an international business with 50 nationalities in the team, and basically we've built the organization because we're quite good, I think, at this moment on doing online marketing. So I'm happy to share some of our tips and tricks, things that we learned the past few years.
Very exciting. So let's start with a very open question. What is modern marketing to you, since we're in the Modern Marketing TV show?
It's often difficult to say, but let's say for me it relates a lot to educating people or training people, sharing knowledge. So the better you're able to make a good summary about something that you know and that's something that other people should know. I think it's the most value you can give online. So I'm rarely thinking about how can we sell better or how can we get more leads. If you just start from how can I create a new piece of content that actually is valuable to somebody else because they can actually learn something from that, I think the other steps will just follow out of that.
Okay. Yeah, because a lot of people know Board of Innovation as a company who is extremely valuable to their audience, and you guys create like a lot of content. What is the playbook there? Because it must be very intensive, I can imagine.
Yeah, we had to professionalize that a little bit. A couple of years ago, it was just within our group, the marketing team was basically just 1, 2, 3 people doing that part of their time. Today we have within our group of 40 people, I think there are at least 5 people almost full-time dedicated to doing the online marketing. So we had to give them a playbook, or they had to figure out how to make a playbook, to create a process, which tools to use. So we basically professionalized a lot. So previously it was more random. Somebody had an idea that became a piece of content, a PDF, a blog post, and whatever. Today there's there's some kind of content marketing flow where every week a couple of articles goes out. There's a flow to interact with consultants.
Can you tell a bit more about that flow? Or
yeah, so the typical setup would be that we have there are a couple of topics. For us, it relates to 3 big domains. One is topics linked to recruiting, so to hire new people. Other topics relate to our consulting activities, so topics relevant for innovation managers and people working in innovation teams. And then third topic is more to inspire people about creativity and innovation. So those are mainstream topics more. And for each topic, we create a first outline of what can be created. An outline can be created. The best outlines are created by consultants themselves. So if they interact with a client and they feel like, we're working on this new topic, it really resonates with this innovation team, that's probably a good piece of content. So they start writing on an outline, and then together with an in-house journalist or an external freelancer copywriter, that outline becomes a full article. That article is being shared within the content marketing team to improve it, because of course we need visuals, you need SEO checks, you need cover all the basics, things that need to happen to make sure that there's a good piece of content. Then it goes to final stage for us is integrating the relevant call to action. So if it's an article linked to hiring, you want to make sure it links to the new job page since we're hiring new consultants, whatever. So you need to be a good flow there as well. Then of course it being put on the content calendar. So there's it goes out like typical 3 days a week. We share new pieces of content. Then every week there's also a newsletter. For us, always the bigger milestone every week that defines more the rhythm how we work. So every week there's a new newsletter, and the best piece of content goes into the newsletter as well. And then the next week we repeat the same process.
Okay, and then because you mentioned SEO checks and these kind of things, if I'd Google, let's say, business model innovation, yeah, Board of Innovation will probably be in the top 3 in the Google results. Yeah, that's quite a big deal these days. What are to you like the most important ingredients for modern lead generation?
It's a very good question. I think for lead generation, and although we're doing quite well, I still think we're not too commercial, and I think there's some room for improvement there. So in terms of lead generation, I think we focus a lot on just creating very good content, better PDFs, new articles. But then if you really want to convert them to leads, you don't just want to inspire people, you want to push them to the next step. So whether it's a lead for us, like to recruit someone or to potential client, then you need to be commercial as well. And of course, we integrate call to actions and forms or other steps there. I think even for us, there's definitely, I think sometimes even just a piece of content itself can be far more commercial sometimes, just to be straightforward. Look, we're selling this thing as well if you want to work with us. And you just need to find the right balance there. I think today, probably 80% or 90% of our articles or contents are just inspiring people so they can learn something. With the basic call to action web, we get a lot of good inflow. But okay, sometimes you just need to be more blunt and just say like, look, today we have a new accelerator program. You feel free to try it out with us. Get in touch with Arne or Vincent in the team, whatever. So being more straightforward that you actually sell something in the end, probably that's important as well.
And building further on lead generation, I know you guys are using Hubspot. When or why did you decide to start using a platform like that to structure your inbound marketing? And what are your major learnings or wins using it?
I think we started using that 3-4 years ago. Basically, there was just too much content and too many articles ongoing. Also, you had online content marketing, but we want to make a better connection with the people that are doing sales within the team. And of course, HubSpot integrates those two flows. So then you have a better overview of all the people that are reading our articles. And some people are really, they're sort of, you consider them fans. So some people are really committed, they follow us for years. But then in HubSpot, you have a tool to follow that. So you can see, okay, this person within this large company, this large automotive brand is reading every single article for weeks now. It might be even valuable just to create content specifically for that person, so that if that person will like it, we might be even more engaged maybe to work with us later on. Or let's just take a phone and just call him because you just see that person is.
Do you do that as well? Outbound marketing,
or we're just getting started actually with outbound marketing. I just can let's say the last 6 months we spent more time on doing outbound marketing. So we had more or less a luxury position where basically all our leads came from the website and SEO and content marketing. So that's a luxury position. But at the same time, if we don't build up the skills in-house to do also outbound marketing, so to reach out proactively to clients, to do pitches and so on, then we don't have that skill in-house. So if, let's say, something goes very wrong in the market is in decline, and you want to really push sales at that moment, you can't just turn up the dial for more SEO, suddenly more leads will pop in. You need to have another strategy, and then of course outbound marketing will be a tool for that. Yeah. So we're now taking the first steps, and we're learning there, so we see there's some results already, but I think we definitely can improve in that field as well.
Okay, clear. You also mentioned that at one point you had to structure your inbound marketing a little bit more. What were the major differences over the last year you saw within the topic of inbound marketing?
I think for us the major changes, one of the difficulties for us was we have consultants with the best knowledge about tools, how to do innovation and those things. And the most senior people, they have the best knowledge, but then you need to capture that knowledge and to put that in articles, in blog posts, in PDFs, and so on. So making the connection there, those people typically don't have enough time. So how do you make that connection to basically to interview them, to turn those insights into good articles? So that's always been a challenge. So we're making steps, making some progress there, like with our in-house journalist and then working together with that person. What was your other question? More how it relates to inbound marketing?
Yeah, what were for you the major differences in inbound marketing over the last years? Which shifts did you see? Or
the first few years, people didn't talk about content marketing or inbound marketing. It was just you just share knowledge online. Today, it's common practice. All the other players in the field are doing something very similar. So everybody's doing content marketing. So just getting above that noise, like everybody is doing quite well in terms of content marketing. So that's the big shift. You need to be more aware. Basically, you need to understand better how content spreads online. So how do you get noticed? So what type of triggers are important? So for me, it's on one hand, you need very good marketing. So typically in the team, we will talk about you don't want to have vanilla type of content marketing. So vanilla content, just good enough, nice, but nobody really cares. It's just very soft. And so you want to have sharper content. But then the second component, and I think even within our own team, there's room for improvement there to make sharper headlines, better thumbnails, better SEO tricks to make sure that
very
you have,
tactical.
You have very good content, but if nobody notices it, you need to be sharper there. So one of the channels that we use a lot for distribution is LinkedIn. So in a B2B context, that really helps. But then people write great content, a great tool, but then they spend maybe 2% of their time on figuring out which visual needs to be there on LinkedIn, which headline. And probably if you spend a little bit more time there, and I would even put a split at 80% time on your content, but at least 20% of your time on figuring out what would be the best headline, what visuals could work, maybe doing several iterations there. That will make sure that your content actually get noticed by the people that you want. So
and that it converts.
That it converts as well, yeah.
Which is the most important thing, of course. Okay. You mentioned you explained your process, your internal marketing process a little bit earlier. Which roles do you have there? And how should we see that? Because of course it's quite a big process. What kind of people do you have?
I think it's kind of straightforward now. We have people that are creating content or starting on. Often it starts from a consultant that has an idea or a piece of content. Then we have sort of a copywriter or in-house journalists or somebody that can actually write articles. Or if it's more a tool, then we immediately will jump to an in-house visual designer. And she will create the visuals or posters or whatever document or infographics and so on. So depending on the content, they will have a bigger role. And then there's more like a content marketeer, or more like a project manager that makes sure like all your different articles and pieces of content are aligned, and they are aligned with the different missions and goals that the marketing team has. So also the distribution, setting up the distribution and flow. When will the article be published? What teasers will be built around that? So it could be Instagram stories linked to a specific article. So once the content is ready, the same like visual designer and content marketeer, they will also write, let's say, the social media status updates, the Instagram stories, LinkedIn posts, all the content around it to push that content or distribute the content on different channels. So those people need to work together. So basically, it's a small team there. They just need to divide the different tasks. And a little bit secondary, once not secondary, it becomes after that. Once the articles are published, then of course you need to do lead generation, capture those leads. So then we have our outbound marketeer. He will typically follow up on, which article converts, which new people end up in Hubspot. And that person will assign certain people to relevant people. Basically, he will follow up first with asking a little bit, sometimes more relevant questions, asking more context. If it's really a relevant lead, then that person will hand it over to someone in our sales team or the recruitment team or whoever is responsible for that specific person. So there's sort of a filter as a last step to filter out the most relevant leads. That's as a separate person.
Okay, very clear, thanks. So maybe building a little bit further on that, I think we all can conclude that you are very good in making your brand stand out. I think most people within innovation or with an innovation manager role in a big company know board of innovation, so good job. What is the secret there? Which tips would you give people who are watching this show with a starting brand to do like that?
The difficulty is like what for me what really works is if you're playing for the sort of the long game. So we create content today, and you know that might only convert 2 or 3 years from now. But of course, if you're starting company, that's not valuable to you because if you can't,
you
can
need
share
instant results.
Yeah, you want to have results in the next few weeks already. So for me, if it's really on the short term, then you should focus far more even on the quality, the things that you share. So you might only share 2-3 articles a month, but make sure that if you share something, that it's really new to the world, that you have something new to share. It's not just, I think it's better to just have 2-3 articles a month that are really good instead of every week having 2-3 articles just to make sure there's a lot of that you have there are a lot of publications ongoing. So spending even more time on the quality early on is more important. And then something that could have results on the short term, I'm still amazed by sometimes how easy it is to get a page high in Google with some common sense on which keywords to use. So with some basic keywords, keyword tracking and looking for a couple of very specific niche topics in your domain, it might take you 1 month, 2 months to have that page very high in Google.
Okay.
So, but then, of course, you don't need to go for keywords like rental cars or something that everybody's promoting and pushing, so you need to look for
wine, where Gary Vaynerchuk
or wine, yes. So you need to look for very specific statements or sentences, and then that's often not too hard to do. Then you create some piece of content that really linked to that, and you can see already results a couple of weeks in where Google picks it up, and then you end up on page 1, 2, 3. You need to improve it a little bit, so then your SEO becomes a good starting point as well. And then maybe the last thing, even at very early on, building your own email list, straight communication channel, straight to people's inboxes, I think it's very valuable. So if you start with a brand, if you would pick one channel, for me, you can do all socials, but I think one channel would be still the newsletter today.
That's quite a statement, I think, because a lot of experts in the marketing scene have been saying over the last months or years, email is going to die because there is a lot of clutter in people's mailboxes. But you would say, still go all in on the newsletter and try to collect as much email addresses as possible.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, because a lot of
it gives
people
you a direct communication channel, and very early on, people are the people that subscribe early on are already some kind of fans, are really intrigued. Okay, they want to sign up. It's something new. So the first weeks they will often really follow your newsletter. Over a while, after time, you will see that people start to tune out of your newsletter again. So, but if you want to have quick results, and you see that the first 2-3 months people are on your newsletter, and you still have the time to manually follow everybody who's on your list. You can call those people or mail those people with specific questions. You need to see how to frame that as well. But you can see instant results early on from building a newsletter. You don't need to have thousands of people on your list. If you have 100, 200, 300 people on your list, but there are 5 relevant leads in there, and you can convert, and you have, in a very short term, you have a good lead to follow up on your project.
Okay. I'm going to ask it anyway because I didn't want to ask a question, but people want real value. So which newsletter would you recommend to upskill your marketing knowledge?
That's a good question.
Because I know you're all into the newsletters. So.
Yeah. I'm mostly in lately on the newsletters are really creating a lot of long reads, like in the innovation scene, like Ben Evans, guys from Strategy or business analysts that are going really in depth on a given topic. So those lists I'll probably share some links. You can probably share them somewhere on your channel. So I'm mainly looking for. I'm not following hundreds of newsletters. So I'm far more selective. Let's say 10 or 20 that are really read, but typically those are really in-depth long articles, less about creation, 20 articles in one newsletter, maybe just 1 article, 2 articles, and really in-depth content to follow that.
Okay, great. And then a lot of people, they also say, you have to shift your newsletter to the messenger platforms. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, that's an interesting, because I was quite skeptical myself about those results. But then within our team, you have Peter, who is currently leading the marketing team. He's been pushing those experiments. So we've been trying with Messenger or direct with WhatsApp channels, and actually see the conversion is quite good. Sometimes you see that from a basic experiment, suddenly hundreds of new people are joining in on Messenger or on a specific WhatsApp channel. Maybe because it's still new to people, and definitely on WhatsApp because it's people use it for personal communication with your friends and family, and then suddenly there's a company in that channel as well. think for us it works because or it worked like it because we're not too pushy commercial there. So we just share again knowledge, like look, there's this new webinar about something you can learn, maybe put it in your reading list, or there's a new checklist with some tips. So via WhatsApp, I don't think we ever push really commercial messages like sign up here for starting this. Yeah, really, because that people would instantly block you. They don't. But if it's really value that you create, you share knowledge, even in a personal WhatsApp environment or Messenger environment, people tend to appreciate it. I was quite amazed by that because I was a little bit skeptical up front, but yeah, we did a couple of experiments and you see it becomes a good channel.
I like the fact that you mentioned that your marketing lead, Peter, does a lot of experiments because I know you guys do that, but the people who are watching this show don't. Are there at least one or some experiments you can tell us more about? Or
one of the more interesting experiments that I liked recently is that we've been doing a lot of webinars, but then webinars, there's an obstacle there because you need to, typical webinar that's live, people tune in, you need to subscribe people up front to get on at the same time, and then we're working in an international context, so you need to find a relevant time slot so people in Europe and the States and so on can all join in on a relevant time. We basically stopped, we made a switch now, so although we frame it online, those webinars are live, they're rarely live, so most of them they're pre-recorded. And then we repeat the same webinar sometimes for weeks in a row. Every week there's a new webinar and people tune in to that specific webinar, sometimes thinking it's completely live. But to make the balance there, what we now do, we have a pre-recorded webinar on a specific topic and people can tune in, but then we still have a live chat that goes with that. So we have, let's say, although the webinar might be Vincent in our team who's explaining how to do innovation strategy sprints or something, then there's Vincent or a colleague of him joining in that live webinar and then doing live chat with potential leads and asking questions and interacting with those people. That's actually a very good combination because you can have focused recording sessions, doing several webinars on one day, and then you can use that content for weeks or months, and then you still have the live component on top. At least there's a live chat, and it's really worked. Out of those sessions, you see that there's new leads are coming in, new questions coming in from relevant clients. So that's one of the interesting experiments that we did.
And which tool do you use for that?
I'm not aware of that, no.
Okay, then I shouldn't have asked it. Okay, maybe a whole different question, but a while ago, I think not so long ago, at the end of last year, you did a really nice campaign where you were looking for a whole new marketing team, except the marketing lead, Peter, who is still the marketing lead. But yeah, in the first place, how did you do that? And especially, I think, a very interesting question where in times where the war for marketing talent is very big or bigger than ever, I think I can say. How do you test those new marketing people? How do you test their skills? Because I know you guys have like very high inflow.
Yeah, I think in general for our team, every month we have a couple of hundred people sending in their CVs. So we need to really have a very professional process now to manage all those applicants. We did campaigns to build a better marketing teams with dedicated page to see different profiles that we needed. But then how do you test those people? For me, the challenge, if you look at marketing, it's kind of strange. You see that everybody claims they're an expert in this field. So everybody, there's just a lot of people because they managed a Facebook page and created a mini web page at some moment. They consider themselves I'm actually quite knowledgeable. But then if you start looking at what was your work, how does it relate to, let's say, to Hubspot or to other tools and webinars, how do you want to integrate that? So different components of digital marketing and how it relates to one to another. Often that's a very big challenge for many people. So indeed, there are a lot of people applying for those jobs, but it's finding those people that are that have knowledge about multiple domains of marketing and how it interacts with each other. That's actually a very big challenge. So we always, very early on in the process, we will ask people to prepare a certain campaign or a case or write a piece of content, whatever, depending on the role. Then we will try to track how good, like if you write a piece of content, it's not just about the text itself. How good are you thinking already about how will this be used on LinkedIn and how will we make sure that the distribution will work, or from this article, how we will convert it to relevant leads? So people that are thinking cross boundaries about not just in their domain, but also see the links with other domains, that's often the biggest challenge there. And a second challenge, people that are really good in online marketing, they're also entrepreneurial. They see the potential, and so they often switch to more like a freelance model. They want to work for multiple organizations at once. While in our context, we like to have full-time people working fully dedicated on our team because we really need experts in our team. So it's often something difficult also just to find the right collaboration model. Well, if you have somebody joining for 1 or 2 days a week, that's often not good enough. We do work with freelancers, but we want to have a core team that can be fully 100% dedicated.
You mentioned different components related to marketing. So yeah, many people know it as the T-shaped marketers. But if you could build your perfect marketer, what would the anatomy of that person be? Is it like 20% coding, 30% copywriting?
Very good question. I think if you have people that I think people should be more aware of how content spreads online. I think that should be a very essential skill. So it's not because you have made a great infographic or a great tool or piece of content that in itself you can be very good, but not knowing how content spreads online, it's really really difficult. So probably if you 30% of you need to have good knowledge about how the internet basically works today. That is of course continuously evolving. So that's why you also will need somebody with the right experimentation mindset to continuously learn. Okay, maybe we need to experiment with product hunts today, or maybe we need to switch now to Twitch as a potential live stream channel, and let's do some experiments there. So somebody that can see and spot maybe some new channels and see how other people are building. Let's say if you look at AJ and Smart today, what they're doing with social and Instagram stories and all the different, then having a crowdfunding campaign next to that, and that's as an organization, they do a lot of experiments at the same time. You need to follow that as well. So you need a person that also has the same mindset to set up their own experiments, to learn, maybe to try new formats and maybe improve his or her own skills as well. But for me, then the coding, like you mentioned, the coding support, for me, that's not really critical today. So if you have more like the execution part, I think it's more important to have a good strategy or on how to approach things. You cannot today. If you need to have specific experts in something, you can still work with Upwork, Fiverr, or really dedicated professional freelancers. They might have a far higher price for, let's say, another day rate. But if you know, I need an expert on that field, like on video marketing or whatever, you can always find experts in a specific field that you can hire freelance just to execute that specific task. So for me, it's less about execution there, more about spotting new tactics and patterns in the market and learning from that. Yeah.
Okay. Great. A couple of months ago, I spoke to Savas Zortikis. It's the founder of Viral Loops, one of the most popular growth hacking tools of this moment. And he explained it. He answered that question with I call them strategic hustlers, which was it captured the whole package for me. So I like that title. So could be a good one for your next job opening. But okay, since we're reaching the end of this interview, I still wanted to ask you. You've been working on a new venture lately. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
So since a couple of months now, we founded Board of Innovation, which is more like an all-in innovation consultancy, and now building a new brand. For now, sort of a sub-brand of Board of Innovation. It's a venturesite.com, and that's a future exploration unit of Board of Innovation. So we basically do research for large organizations on what the future will bring. So today, mainly focus on changes in mobility and life sciences. So it's a new brand. So again, I need to start from scratch. I need to build up my new mailing list. I need to build up a new brand and online presence and build up my social channels. So it's really a separate channel, a separate branding next to Board of Innovation. So for me, it's an interesting learning experience for myself. So basically going back 8-9 years ago, we had to figure out how will we position Board of Innovation, and I'm now doing something very similar with a new brand. Yeah. So
next to that, you're also bringing Board of Innovation to New York. Congrats on the opening of the New York office, by the way. How does that affect your marketing? Because they say if you can make it in the US, you can make it anywhere. But what does that do with your marketing?
Yeah, basically it was already triggered by our marketing because we noticed already we had, let's say on our website and different channels, we know let's say around 30% of our visitors were US based. So you see you have quite some reach already there. We managed to do already some sales from here, from in the European office. But then we realized, okay, maybe if we already have a good foundation, we have good reach, we have first clients there, we can probably scale that up. So having now a local office there, hopefully will help us to grow locally by building better personal connections with people, visiting more clients regularly, and we'll see how that goes. It's for us a very big experiment, a huge investment, of course. But I'm actually quite confident knowing that we don't need to start from scratch. So it's not that we had this dream, try if US works. Today, US works sort of already. We have potential good clients already. We have some clients and potential new clients on top. Also, hiring is going quite well. So hiring locally, that's also being validated. We have a couple of first hires there. And now, of course, it's in the next few years. See actually if we can grow and build a bigger team locally, and if that could be triggered, then maybe to open up another office later on as well.
Okay, very exciting. Already thinking about a new office. Great. And then maybe the last question, because we're in the Modern Marketing TV show. If you have to predict the future of marketing, what do you think the biggest changes in the next 10 years will be? And I mentioned you in the preparation of this interview. You get bonus points if you don't mention Alexa or any kinds of voice marketing.
Yeah, I shared already a couple of times. I think the importance of newsletters, but that for me the next step of newsletters I assume there will be some kind of more advanced referral models there. So how do you find or spot more relevant newsletters? How do you curating newsletter, giving tips? But today it's more like, okay, do you know a list? And people share this is my top 5 lists, and here you go. I think more advanced referral models where people can track from each other what are the newsletter people are following, what do you recommend automatically, that people also get some karma back somehow, that you help other people to find relevant newsletters or a specific piece of content within newsletters, more like the unbundling of newsletters, whatever piece of content within newsletters. I expect to see some changes there. I'm not sure what that model will exactly look like, but if you look at how influencer marketing evolved on social, there might be some kind of influencer model popping up in the newsletter scene. I don't know if that's a scene, but in that space. So I think that's probably something to follow. I'm really curious to see how there's a lot of wrong information or fake news being shared. So people are becoming really skeptical about what you're reading online. And even if you want to share very good content, people think, it's just to trick me into becoming a potential client. He will contact me or whatever. So there's probably some big backlash that will follow at some point. Not sure what the tipping point will be, but then finding new tactics to be more authentic and then really going all in on a personal channel. Personal for me means you're very open and honest about what you're doing. So when I'm building now a venture site, I will put my personal mobile phone number just in my newsletter, so people can contact me via WhatsApp and reach out. So that shows really there's not a full machine of bots behind it. No, if you want to reach out, here's my phone number.
Human to human.
Human to human. Yeah, I think showing that you're honest and you're authentic, and then going all in on that, on sharing personal details yourself, creates trust, I think, on the other side as well. You have to see how that evolves, of course, in the next few years. Great,
clear. So thank you, Nick, for this interesting chat about modern marketing. And for the people who want to know more about modern marketing, I advise you to subscribe to our channel. And for the people who are often in the car or walking the dog, subscribe to the podcast on Spotify or any other channel. And see you next week. Thanks, Nick.